So Amazon Prime Video wanted to give us a great Thursday night football finale. So they gave us Seahawks, Bears, and yeah, no, there's nothing good about this. But yeah, you would think they would choose a better game for a Thursday night football finale. But then again, you don't really know the schedule. Did we expect Caleb Williams to be this bad? But we didn't really expect the Seahawks to be in the hunt. But then again, maybe some people did. So anyway, it's kind of a strange final game for Thursday football here. But we didn't want to wait. It's a day after Christmas. We wanted to get over with. We want to talk about the real games, the good games here for Week 17 for I guess the second to last Gilberto's hour here. It's been fun doing this show here with you guys, and hopefully you can join us here the day after Christmas. Hopefully you're having a good, happy holiday season. Hopefully you enjoyed Christmas and you're enjoying time with the loved ones and family members here. But we'll see what happens for this final 5 minutes here. Maybe Caleb Williams and the Bears do something. Maybe not. They can't really protect them. But I'll have Victor give me an update, and then I'll do a little quick recap here. But so far, nothing really to talk about. Same old, same old. You would think the Seahawks would do a little better when they're playing for the playoff lives here. But we'll see how it develops for 5 minutes here. But for in the meantime, we'll talk about 17. But more importantly, we'll talk about fantasy football. You're here because you want to win your fantasy title, your league title. And if you're really involved still, that means that you're in the fantasy championship game. Victor is. I'm not. I don't care about fantasy football, but I'll do my best to help out. But luckily, Victor's still involved. So that voice that you hear all the time, that soothing, calming voice, Victor Javier Corona, how you doing, sir?
Doing good. Happy to be here once again, and hopefully, as we get into the matchups, we preview the matchups this weekend. We've already had two, and maybe a third one here. In the next couple minutes between the Seahawks and the Bears. It's been kind of a dud week so far, if you really think about it, Gilbert.
Yeah, Christmas was pretty bad, and I have conflicting feelings about Christmas games for football. That is, I know the NBA and the NFL are competing, and more people are going to watch football, and that's okay. But I don't know. Wednesday felt like a force. Tuesday is gonna feel like a force when it's 2039. Sorry, no, 2029, and we're having Arch Manny play for maybe the Chicago Bears. And here you go, Tuesday game. If you want to have Thursday games, Friday games, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so be it. The NFL players are used to that, but you could tell they were thrown off by the Wednesday thing, and then having the whole remix thing on Saturday. It was bad football all around. It was there one game, Victor, that stood out to you? Maybe for a little bit, Texans Chiefs,
No.
but not really.
No, and honestly, and I mentioned this, like I don't understand like this whole thing with the NFL in terms of like we know it's the king, it's the king when it comes to ratings. Nothing's gonna touch it. It just I don't understand having it on this Wednesday. Now you can have it on next year is going to be a good opportunity for them because it's Thursday night football as we talked about, but I just don't understand. Like it's been the NBA's day, and yeah, I get it. You have a bunch of eventually people are going to get tired of having to move around, and the biggest reason it did really well is because of fantasy football. But outside of that, this was terrible football, and I'm sure we'll have this discussion coming up, but eventually one of these days. But I really like the idea that Tarico came up with when he was on a he was on a podcast somewhere where he was talking about how in the Premier League what they usually do is they have like the final 5 weeks, who the matches are, but for TV they schedule it accordingly so that way you can put those matchups in prime time the last 5 weeks, and I think it's something that we should probably start to look at. I like his idea.
Yeah, I caught that a little bit, and maybe there's something to kind of mess around with. But first of all, Victor, how's my Wi-Fi doing? 'Cause I didn't change it to my good Wi-Fi.
It's doing better now. It was a little spotty there for a little
Was it
bit
a
for
was
you.
it a decent intro at least?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it
Uh,
was. It
I'm
was.
I'm gonna change just to be safe, but if you want, go ahead and kind of give a rundown of what games we're gonna talk about, and then like in 30
Yeah,
seconds, I'll probably jump back up here.
sounds good. Yeah, so we have our top three matchups of the week. We've already seen Ravens and Texans, and we've already seen Chiefs and Chiefs and the Steelers this week already. And so we're going to talk about the remaining top three matchups of the week. Our headline game will be Packers and Vikings, as both of them are trying to to get a higher seed in the NFC North. And then we have Falcons Commanders, and we also have Broncos and Bengals. We'll get into all three of those games, but it looks like Gilbert is good to go.
Yeah, as I'm watching Caleb Williams get a first down, they're still not at the over the 50-yard line, but I will see how it plays out. But yeah, let's get to this first game here, and then if something happens, we'll discuss this Bears Seahawks. But they might give us overtime. I don't know why, but for if you're a Rams fan, you're probably keeping an eye on this one because you want the Bears to beat the Seahawks. And if you beat the Cardinals on Saturday, you get the division. But we'll keep an eye on that. But let's start with Packers versus Vikings. Good showdown, NFC North, Week 17. For the Packers, there's not really a lot to play for because you're out of the division title. But I think you need this one to say, hey, we're a real threat. We're not a pretender. Let's show up these Vikings.
Yeah, this is one of those games that is sneaky good. It might be the best game of the it is. I personally think it's the best game of the week. You have the Green Bay Packers as 1 point favorites with the over under being 48.5 at the Minnesota Vikings, which I'm kind of surprised. I mean, we've already seen the Vikings beat some of the best teams, and as we've talked about on the House of Horns preview, I'm kind of surprised that the Vikings aren't getting uh more respect here from not only Vegas, but just from, a lot of the NFL, experts. It seems like everybody really likes the Green Bay Packers. I do too, but at the same time, I feel like Minnesota has done a lot and they've been better teams. As you'll probably get into the teams that the Green Bay Packers have lost to. I can give them to you, but I'd rather let you talk about it. But yeah, I'm really surprised with where people are viewing this game. And one of my biggest things that I wanted to get to, I'll start with Minnesota. It's just Sam Darnold. It feels like people are still sleeping on Sam Darnold. They still think he's the same Sam Darnold that we saw with the Jets and then with Carolina. Um, I love what he's become here. He's had 2 games, Gilbert, of throwing 5 touchdowns this season. And I get it. He has good weapons, but at the same time, he has a really good sense of the pocket, and he's been able to move around. He's played injured, and he's been a really good player for this Minnesota Vikings team. And honestly, he's been the biggest reason why they're 14-3. Yes, I've said it. Like Brian Flores has been good, Kevin O'Connell has been good, but without the quarterback, I just don't think this team is where they're at right now.
Yeah, if you're one of those people that's going off of past history and Sam Darnold being called the bust for the what happened with the Jets and what happened to the Panthers, and maybe you're not even watching Vikings games that close because you really don't want to believe in Sam Darnold. But if you want to just go off of stats, there's one for you, and it's not even analytics, and it's not even something basic. Look at the passer rating. He's right now 105.2. He's fourth in the NFL with the passer rating. To me, that's probably one of the best stats you could look at because it's kind of a little bit of everything. I know there's some analytics to it. There's a weird formula, but it kind of just tells me you know what the hell you're doing out there. And sometimes you could kind of pad the stats with yards because we saw what was it? Jameis Winston had 5,000 yards passing 1 year. Sometimes you could pad the stats with too many touchdowns, not too many, but a lot of touchdown passes because you got a lot of help there. Uh, but I think to me, the passer rating tells me a lot. He's already set the record for franchise record, and there's been some good quarterbacks there from Minnesota. I know they never won a Super Bowl, but they had the franchise record for most passer rating of over 100 in a single season. I forget how many games. I think it's like 10 to 12 games. I forget. So that says a lot for Sam Darnold. I was one of the doubters in Sam Darnold. So to me, if I'm able to change my mind because of what I've seen in the last 15, 16 weeks, then maybe you should too. But I'm with you, Victor. I'm over people trying to say this guy's gonna melt or be the Cinderella who runs away at midnight and suffer. And even if he has like a little bit of a letdown, he still has a lot of help. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Kevin O'Connell, the coaches. So who cares if he has a lot of help? Like if he's gonna do well with a lot of help, then that's fine. How does he do when maybe those star players aren't doing well? And so far, I've seen him do well in those situations too.
Yeah, and then heading over to the Packers, Gilbert. I understand where people are coming from. You got Jordan Love, like they have a young nucleus. Josh Jacobs has been great, a great addition coming over from the Raiders. And you look at that defense, that young defense. We talked about Xavier McKinney and what a big signing we thought he was, and he's been a great addition as well. And you look around that defense, and they've been able to put it together, and they've been able to beat some of these teams lately. But as you'll get into, it's just they haven't been able to beat the really good teams. And they've lost to the Eagles, they've lost twice to the Lions, they lost to this Vikings team. And so, and I get it, they've also split the series with the Vikings the last 5 seasons. And so you kind of want to see them get that signature win in this game. And I think that's what you want. That's the I think the biggest thing for this Green Bay Packers team is they need a signature win.
Yeah, I'll give them credit for the Rams victory. That's a good victory now when you look at it. But I'll say this: if you're gonna discredit the Vikings victory in Green Bay because Jordan Love was a little hobbled coming back from the knee injury from Brazil, and it was way back in Week 4, then you can't give the Packers credit for beating the Rams way back in Week 5 or whatever it was, when they were all injured. Puka
Yeah,
Nacua didn't play, so you got to keep it
both of
fair.
their offensive linemen were out, Avila and their other linemen. So yeah,
Yeah, so maybe we could just go off of what we've seen lately. And last time I checked, the Vikings have the longest active winning streak in the NFL. They have 8 games where they've won. I just feel like I've seen more from Minnesota. I haven't seen enough from Jordan Love. Like I haven't seen Jordan Love play as well as Sam Darnold has, and I don't think I've seen the weapons that Sam Darnold has on the Green Bay Packers. They're talented. Josh Jacobs helps, but you don't have Justin Jefferson out there, so. And then I think the coach is kind of a toss up, or maybe I'll give the edge to Kevin O'Connell. I get Matt LaFleur has played in bigger, coaching bigger games, so maybe I should give him more of the leeway here. But look on defense too. Both guys are doing well. Brian Flores, Jeff Halfley. The Jeff Halfley hiring was probably the best move for the Packers outside of re-signing Jordan Love this past season. Or this past year. So they're pretty evenly matched here. I'm not gonna take away from what the Packers have done just because they couldn't beat the Lions twice and they couldn't beat the Eagles and uh, they couldn't beat the Vikings in Green Bay. But Minnesota's at home, and if you're gonna give me a +1 at home, I'll take it. I'll take a good team here with a lot of weapons, and also Minnesota still has a lot to play for. They're playing for more than the Packers. The Packers are pretty much set as a wild card. All they're really playing for is to put people on notice here and then also to be the number 5 seed. The Vikings still have a chance at the division title and the number 1 seed. They're competing with the Lions, and last time I checked, 13-2 was pretty good. So they're both 13-2 in Detroit, in Minnesota. So I'm gonna take that all day. So I know it's a close game. It could be difficult. People are split. By the way, the Packers are getting money from the sharps, from the public. The odds makers are favoring them. Everybody thinks Green Bay is better. But for the one of the few times, Victor, that we agree
yeah.
Minnesota is better than Green Bay, but we're definitely in the minority there.
Yeah, and they're at home as well too. And then
Hmm.
I thought one of the comments post game from that game against Seattle on Sunday was from Justin Jefferson, and him saying that he feels like the same vibes that he had with when he was at LSU with Joe Burrow and all those
Wow.
guys. And so he really he's engaged and he feels good about it. But I'm with you. I'm taking Minnesota in this game. Give me the points here. And this is going to be one of my best bets too, Gilbert, and we'll talk about it later. But there is a bet here that I like, and we'll discuss. But I wanted to get to this comment from ESG. It says the Packers snuck up on the Cowboys last year. Teams will be ready for them this year, and I think that's been part of it too, Gilbert, which they haven't been able to beat. They don't have that signature win so far this season, and they're still looking for it because they haven't been able to sneak up on teams. And like you said, you can't use the excuse that Jordan Love was hurt. Like now he's been healthy now for a while now, and so they
Yeah.
need a signature win. And if they don't do it this weekend, it's going to be hard pressed to see them. They're going to have to wait till they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'll credit the Packers front office for signing Josh Jacobs because of what ESG mentioned. Because now Jordan Love is not an unknown. There's game tape out there. You could maybe make adjustments with him. So I think that Josh Jacobs signing has ended up being like a big help for him because you're seeing. I know Jordan Love is not a typical second year player because he's been around the NFL, but you see it with CJ Stroud. How do you do the second time around? How do you do when defenses know what to expect? And I think for the most part, Jordan has been pretty steady. He doesn't have the turnover problem, but he hasn't played to the elite level of last year when he was a big surprise. So maybe kind of having that balanced attack has allowed him to learn on the fly without being exposed a little bit or making mistakes hurt you, during games. So who knows? Maybe Lafleur is gonna unleash him finally because I just haven't seen it. You got paid a bunch of money. I want to see more of that. But it's going to be a tough matchup. You forget about that. He's still a young quarterback. And you have to face Brian Flores, and Brian Flores is making a lot of good quarterbacks look pretty bad.
Yeah, and I can't wait. We saw what happened in that first matchup where the Packers got down. They got down by a bunch of points and then made a comeback late in that game and were in it. But like we talked about, the Vikings will be at home in this game, and that's part of the reason why we like the Vikings in this game. All
Hmm.
right, Gilbert, our second game that we want to watch in this weekend is the Falcons at the Commanders. The Falcons are 4-point underdogs to the Commanders, and the over under here is 47.5. Where do you want to start off with this matchup?
Yeah, first of all, quick reminder to give us your fantasy football questions. Don't be shy. It's a big week here. I know you're probably still watching Thursday Night Football. That's how they get us. It's like three and a half ugly quarters, and then there's like a good 5 minutes of excitement here. So Caleb Williams is still marching down. We'll see what they do here. They're probably going for a field goal, but we'll see. Ask us a fantasy football question, but let's get to this next game here. And I'll start with Atlanta, and I'll say Atlanta was a little late, but better late than never on benching Kirk Cousins, and going with Michael Penix Jr., the rookie quarterback. And Michael Penix Jr. didn't have a great debut, but it was a debut that showed he belongs. The lights are not too big for him. He knows how to run an offense. He knows how to give the ball to Bijan Robinson. He knows how to give the ball to a couple of his playmakers. Also, don't give the ball to Kyle Pitts, maybe, who couldn't catch that ball in the red zone and went up in the air, and it was a turnover for Michael Penix Jr. So other than that, catch the ball for the rookie there and help him out. And no, Caleb Williams cannot complete that. Sorry, Michael Penix Jr. Didn't do a whole lot, but he has mobility. He has better arm strength, and then that overall opens up the playbook for Zach Robinson. So I think they needed to do that change there, even with some up and downs for the rookie quarterback there. They had to do it. But what can you do now against Jaden Daniels? And that's a little bit of an intriguing matchup. Jaden Daniels was a number 2 pick. Michael Penix Jr. number 8. I think it could be a little bit of a shootout here. It's just I just don't know if maybe Penix Jr. is ready to do that in a second career start. Are you ready to open up the playbook fully and go bombs away? I get the Commanders secondary is not the best. They're one of the worst in the NFL. Even Marshawn Lattimore struggled last week, but that was against AJ Brown. Uh, I think he'll be fine with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. But if it becomes a shootout, Victor, I really favor Jaden Daniels because they're used to that already. It's just a lot of I don't know what to expect from the Falcons. Maybe just slowing the football game with Bijan Robinson is the best way to go, where you're not giving your rookie quarterback too much. I would love to see a shootout; it'd be pretty entertaining. But I think for them, they got to slow it down with Bijan.
Yeah, and that's where exactly where you just ended is where I'm going to start, and that's with Bijan Robinson. Like, I think the biggest benefit factor of sitting Kirk Cousins, who couldn't. I mean, the thing with Kirk Cousins was what made him really good for the last couple of years was his ability to, be in play action, and him not being able to do that, especially when we know what they want to run. 11 personnel. This is where the OC comes from, where from the Rams, and they wanted to run that, and they haven't been able to get him under center and be able to play, do play action with Kirk Cousins. And so you bring in Michael Penix Jr., and guess what? It opened things up because people weren't focusing on Bijan Robinson. You needed to, you needed to be aware of the play action with Michael Penix Jr. And I think this is a game where Bijan Robinson is going to eat in this matchup, and that's someone you need to keep. If the Falcons are going to make a run here, and be one of those playoff teams and wins the NFC South, it's because they're gonna rely on Bijan Robinson, which should have been the thing this season, Gilbert. I felt like if you rely on Bijan Robinson to be your workhorse, you're gonna make the playoffs, and they just didn't. They saw that they were able to win with Kirk Cousins early on in the season because he was able to pass the ball. He had those two big games against the Buccaneers, but now that you have Michael Penix Jr., you need to run the ball with Bijan Robinson, and I just feel like if you're able to do that, and then with the Commanders, man, like you said, Jaden Daniels is just out here just slinging the ball, which is awesome to see. And it also takes a we've been critical of Cliff Kingsbury and how his offense fades in the second half, and I mean what he did to that big Fangio defense is really impressive, and so I want to see if he can continue it, especially when we know that the Falcons haven't had a good defense this season.
Yeah. By the way, the Seahawks won 6-3. I'll give you my quick takeaways after we finish this game
Yeah,
here. But yeah, I was very impressed with Jaden Daniels' performance against Vic Fangio's defense. That's a very good secondary. I know Fernando and myself got into it this week. It
yeah,
was a good debate here. And for the most part, I could see the split there. There was no Jalen Hurts. Maybe that it would have been a different game if Jalen Hurts, finished that game. But to me, I just thought if you kind of just focus on the matchup, defense versus quarterback, I really like what I saw there. And for the Falcons defense, I haven't really seen much good positive strides there from Raheem Morris's defense. That's why I'm expecting a shootout. I will take the over here. I think it could be a good game
yeah.
here. I see the Commanders also covering. I don't like the -4, but they're at home. And I feel uncertainty about the whole Michael Penix Jr. aspect of it. How much did they really show us last week against a very bad New York Giants team? That worries me. But also, can we really just trust the Falcons that much? Like they were such a up and down team that cannot be trusted for most of the season. I'm just not sold to just say, you know what, Penix Jr., I believe in you. But maybe that's kind of the beauty of football. Sometimes you don't know what to expect, and maybe they could cover here. But I like what I saw from Jaden Daniels. Where if they get into a shootout, I could see him pulling away from Michael Penix Jr.'s team at the end.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go the other way here with I like the Falcons to cover here, but I like the Commanders to win. So give me the +4 here with the Falcons, and I'm with you. The over is gonna hit on this one just because we know these two offenses are gonna be able to move the ball on both of these defenses. So yeah, give me the Falcons here to cover, but I like the Commanders to win.
Yeah, and final point here, like it just kind of just for me, if Penix Jr. is playing well and they do cover here, that tells me that they were able to figure out the offense and at least hang with the Commanders here. Uh, so maybe I'm okay with seeing the Falcons in the playoffs, but for right now, I'd rather see the Buccaneers. But then the Buccaneers really disappointed me in Dallas last week, so we'll see who wins the NFC South here. I have no favorites. I guess a little bit of the Buccaneers, but if Penix Jr. does well, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm okay with either team if I'm being honest. I really wanted to see the Bucks, but they're starting to get depleted. They're just having way too many injuries. And then with the Falcons, they're one of those teams that we picked as a new team to make the playoffs. So I'll be happy if that's
Yeah,
I end up picking
I
that
need
right
that
because
one.
I haven't had too many that I pick right. So yeah, so I'm good with either one. I think either one is going to be a good matchup for one of these teams. I still think they lose. I think this is one of the whoever wins the NFC South is going to lose in the wild card round. But I think you're right. I think the Bucks are probably the better team. They give you the better matchup when it comes to the wild card round. All right, Gilbert. So go ahead. As you said, the TNF recap here. The Seahawks beat the Bears 6-3 here. And let me just share this comment from ESG. It says, wow, the Seahawks and Bear was one of the worst games I've ever seen Seahawks win.
Yeah, that's a good assessment there, ESG. And I feel like I've seen this movie before where Caleb Williams is trying to go for a game time field goal and they're moving across field and they suddenly start going backwards. I don't know what the heck happened. They converted on fourth and inches. He had a nice throw to Roma Dunzie. I looked down for a few seconds or making a point here on Gilberto's hour. And then suddenly it's fourth and long and this guy's running around for his life and he throws an interception. Surprisingly, that was his first interception in a long time. So I didn't know that with all the chaos that's been going on for Caleb Williams. I guess that's one positive. He wasn't turning the ball over that much. But I'll say this: I've noticed it. He's good at throwing the ball away, like he throws it away very deep. That shows his arm strength. He goes, way over the end zone or way out of bounds. So that kind of is clicking on his brain. But he's moving around too much, and I don't like that. He's just kind of waiting for things to happen. But at least he's able to throw the ball away. I'm trying to give the guy one positive. But yeah, he missed a lot of throws today. Again, I was watching the first three quarters pretty closely. That offense can't get into a rhythm. And also, it's not all his fault. That offensive line is terrible. There was a couple of big sacks there, tackles for loss there for Seattle. So, yeah, 6-3. That tells you a lot there. In terms of playoff implications, the Seattle Seahawks now are going to be they're going to be big Arizona Cardinals fans this weekend, because if the Cardinals beat the Rams on Saturday, Week 18 at SoFi Stadium is going to be for the division title, Rams versus Seahawks. But if the Rams beat the Seahawks on Saturday, it's going to be pretty much over for the division. I know I was talking about it earlier here on House of Horns. Um, the Rams, if they win on Saturday, they pretty much have 99% chance of winning the division. If you're probably asking why is that when they play each other next week, and if the Seahawks beat the Rams, they'll be tied. Well, the Rams have a bunch of tiebreakers, and I was looking at it. In terms of head to head, if that becomes the case, they're 1-1. In terms of division, they'll probably be, I think, 3-3 or 4-2. I forgot already. And then it goes off strength of schedule, strength of victory, and the Rams have a better strength of victory. And you know which one was really beneficial, Victor? Beating the freaking Buffalo Bills
Yep.
was big for the Rams. So if it gets to that point, the Rams could pretty much clinch where they win on Saturday, and maybe like 3 or 4 teams need to win on Saturday. A lot of very good teams, if they win on Saturday against bad teams, the Rams can wrap it up by Sunday night for the division title. So it's a little complicated because the Seahawks won today. But if they win, that's pretty much it for that division title.
Yeah, we still have to wait if you're wanting to see what happens with this division, the NFC West. You're still gonna have to wait till the end of Week 17. I know
Mhm.
ESG is asking, so that means the Rams will be playing everyone in Week 18. That doesn't necessarily
Yeah,
mean that. We just all have to wait till even the Monday night games to figure out whether or not, Gilbert just mentioned, with all the tiebreakers and all that, we have to wait for that. So if the Rams win against the Cardinals, then you have to wait till the end of Week
yeah,
17, and then we'll know whether or not they've clinched it, and maybe Week 18 doesn't matter for the Rams, and they can rest everybody. So,
yeah. Just beat
yeah,
the Cardinals, and you're probably gonna get what you want based on the strength of victory tiebreaker. So just beat the Cardinals, and you should be okay. ESG there.
yeah. He
But
says
yeah,
good research, so Rams won't have to play everyone. So there you go. You're
yeah.
just
Hopefully,
gonna have to wait till watch the Sunday and
yeah.
the Monday games. ESG. That's
Yeah,
the only
I
thing.
probably should have pulled up Gary Klein's story in the LA Times. He laid out all the teams and all the games that the Rams need teams to win. It's like 6 or 7 games, and you just need 3 or 4 to win. And the 3 or 4 are very good teams. So it could definitely break their way. Maybe it doesn't happen. Who knows? But like I mentioned, the New York Times said 99% chance the Rams win the NFC West with a victory on Saturday night.
Yeah. So yeah, take care of business against the Cardinals, and then you just gotta wait till all the games are done on Sunday and Monday, and then you'll know whether or not that is going to be a game they need to play everybody at. So there you go. All right, Gilbert. Getting back to our preview show here, we're gonna move over to our third game that we're gonna preview here, and that is, oh, before I forget, you said you're going with the Commanders
Yeah,
with the
-4.
points.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. And then you're taking the over, just like I am, and I'm going with the Falcons to cover, but I like the Commanders to win. All right. We got the Denver Broncos at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 3.5 point favorites. The over under here is 49.5. I'm kind of surprised by this one, Gilbert, that the Bengals are 3.5 point favorites, but go ahead. Where are you starting off with this matchup?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Bears covered the spread. They were plus 4.5, and they lost by 3. So some positivity there for Chicago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a little surprised here about the Bengals only getting -3.5. They're at home. I get it. What are they? 6-8? No, 7-8. They're not really a good team. They're not a balanced team. They don't have good defense, but And I know the defense has been playing better lately, but let's be real. They played Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. They played the Tennessee Titans, and they played the Cleveland Browns in the last 3 weeks. So I'm not really sure if the defense got better in this 3 game winning streak. But I do know the Broncos are not that good. They're overachievers, and they're a little surprising. They beat their wins total this year. People thought they're going to win maybe 6 games, 5 games, and here they are with 9 victories, but they beat up on a lot of easy opponents. The one victory I credit them for, they beat the Buccaneers, and they kind of stumbled into a winning record victory against the Falcons because the Falcons just became 8-7 not too long ago, or 7-7. So they get credit for that one. But they lost to the Chargers twice. They got beat down by the Ravens. They lost to the Chiefs. They almost beat the Chiefs, so I'll give them a little credit for that. But they're a team that's a little maybe a year early for being in the playoffs, but also maybe 2 years away from being like a real Super Bowl contender. Uh, Bo Nix doesn't have a lot of help, but also he hasn't been the most impressive rookie. He's been doing well with a good scheme, and you could tell last week or on Thursday, yeah, a week from today on Thursday, when they lost the lead and he had to drop back and throw the football around. He couldn't really do it there, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't have a lot of weapons, but you still got Cortland Sutton out there, and some intriguing rookies. And Sean Payton went away from the run, but that's a long way to just say I don't think the Broncos are that good. I think the Bengals do one thing very well, and that one thing that they do very well could definitely beat the Broncos. So I'm talking about the elite offense. You got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You got Chase Brown, the running back. So say it becomes a shootout. I have no faith in Bo Nix and Sean Payton's offense to keep pace there in Cincinnati. So, yeah, maybe the defense gives up points, but like, how many can they give up? Like, if they give up 24, I'm still going to bank on Joe Burrow getting 30. It's just the way it is. They have a good offense there. So, they don't have a complete team, but they're very good on one side. And what do the Broncos really do well? I know the defense is good, but it's not elite level. It's not to the point where they're a top 10, top 5 defense. The Bengals offense they're top 5. So I will bank on that, and I will take the points here just because I think if it gets into a shootout, they can't keep pace there.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I like the Bengals in this game as well. As everything you laid out is, I mean, when it comes to the Broncos, I have not, I just feel like they've overachieved. They've gotten really good coaching this season. Outside of PS2, I know Bo Nix has been, has played above what everybody expected him as a rookie. I and that's been impressive to see. And you talked about Cortland Sutton, and you talked about some of the other pieces that they have, but I just feel like that defense has led them to this point, and I just think that they're starting to slip up. And you're going up against a very hungry Cincinnati Bengals team, and it's starting to look like they've gotten hot at the right time. After having a bunch of terrible losses, now it looks like they finally clicked, and this is a bad time if you're a Broncos fan to be going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are just there. I would not be surprised if they light up the scoreboard here against the Broncos. We saw what the Chargers did, and the Chargers offense isn't that great. Even Charger fans will tell you, like, this has been a really bad offense for the last couple weeks, and they were able to score a bunch of points on this Broncos defense. So imagine what the Cincinnati Bengals offense can do, especially at home against this Broncos defense.
Yeah.
But I know one team, just to clear up what you were talking about earlier, just because this is from Stu Jackson, who, is the guy for the Rams. His tweet says, so this is, and the Ram fans will be rooting for the Bengals in this game because this is what the Rams need. They need not only to win, plus have wins by 4 of these 6 teams: the Bengals, the Commanders, the Bills, the 49ers, the Vikings, and the Browns. So the Ram fans will be rooting for the Bengals, the Commanders, the Bills, the 49ers, Vikings, or the Browns. So 4 of those have to win this weekend in order for the Rams to clinch, Gilbert.
Yeah, I could see the Bengals. I could see the
The
Commander,
Commanders, the Bills,
the Bills,
and the
uh,
Vikings.
and the Vikings could be a tough one, but I could see it. I don't know if I see the 49ers beating the Lions,
Or the
uh,
Browns.
beating the Dolphins. But it could happen. It's a cold weather city team in this late December. Those Miami Dolphins can play in cold weather, so I could see a good combination. I remember, yeah, that's what it was. The teams there, uh, those 49ers, man, can they come through for the Rams? That'd be interesting. But it's definitely possible. It's not an easy thing to occur, but there was a lot of favorites in there that could win. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
Stu Jackson put that out there. So yeah, because I totally forgot the games there. I remember the Bills were one of them. I remember the Bengals. I do remember the 49ers, but yeah. So I'm glad that got laid out. And real quick, I've been very critical of the Cincinnati Bengals. I got annoyed with them because everybody kept overrating them. They kept saying
Yeah.
they have Joe Burrow and they beat the Chiefs one time in the playoffs 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm like, they're not Super Bowl contenders. But I'll say this: they are the seventh best team in the AFC. Maybe they're the fifth best, sorry, no, sixth best team in the AFC. But they're not Super Bowl contenders. But I do want to see them get into the playoffs to kind of make the
I
Bills
want
fans.
chaos, Gilbert. I'll
Yeah,
be honest. I want chaos for that seventh spot.
yeah, I could see it. I don't think they can beat the Bills in a wild card game, but don't make them sweat. You'll be scared, and
Yeah.
it might be like a close game. And if you're a Bills fan, you're probably thinking, "Ah, crap, here we go again." I want to see that,
Yeah.
but this is where I don't think it's going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah, even though if the Broncos lose two, the Bengals win two, I just don't have faith. And maybe I don't know. Maybe Anthony Richardson could blow it, but the Colts
And
have
he
to
might not
lose.
play, though. That's the other thing. We'll get into it, but it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like
Hmm, maybe Joe
that
Flacco then.
Richardson might play. He's questionable for this matchup.
Okay. So the Colts seem to lose lose one out of two, and they're playing the Giants and the Jaguars. So maybe they could lose one, and then they need the Miami Dolphins to lose one. They're playing the Browns and the Jets. I could see maybe a loss to the Jets or even the Browns in the cold weather. But we're getting a little far ahead, but I think the Bengals will handle business here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the not only the points, but this will be another game where one of my best bets is going to be in. So we'll get into it. But Gilbert, let's move over now to our betting locks of the week for week 17 from you and I. So far this season, you started with a big lead, and now I'm pretty much have gone past you. I am up 133 points to 108 after week 16. Um, just let people know how we go about doing our best bets, our 5 best bets of the week.
Yeah, again, don't be shy for fantasy football questions. We are here to try to help you guys out the best way we can. But yeah, I know it's the day after Christmas, but if you also have a question after we're done being live, put the question in the comments and we'll get to you as soon as we can. But yeah, so we have our five best bets of the week and for week 17, and we have a unique system where the best one that you feel most confident in is worth 5 points, and then the next one is 4, 3, 2, and 1. And Victor has a pretty sizable lead for me here. If I don't get a 15-0 week in week 17, it's pretty much over. So I'm holding out hope here for Victor to get 5 wrong and me to get 5 right. I got a brutal week last week, but so far the Bengals keep helping me out. So I'm gonna keep riding them to start off week 17.
There we go. So your best bet here, as you just said, here you go. Your number 5.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I have confidence in the Bengals covering, and I kind of made a joke in one of my stories. The Bengals have been covering against the non-good teams, and I think the Broncos are a non-good team. I know they have a winning record. It's just they're kind of a mediocre team. Is that good? I don't know, but I feel like if you're good, you're maybe above average. But yeah, the Broncos are overachievers, but they're not all that. So give me the Bengals to cover here, and they're at home too.
Yeah, you're going up with another of your one of our 3 games to watch preview for your number 4.
Yeah, another one, Commanders -4. I feel confident in here. I just think Michael Penix Jr. Might be a little too soon for him to kind of find himself in a shootout in week 2. Even Jaden Daniels had his early struggles. It took him maybe I think 3 or 4 games to get going. So one is comfortable, one is not. So if it gets into a shootout, that's better for me. But maybe Bijan Robinson changes the game plan, and I'm struggling here at the end.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I'm not gonna lie. I had to kind of pivot off of some of the ones you picked because I really like those, but I'm okay pivoting because it makes for a better segment here. Your number 3, you're going to SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, I was gonna change it last minute, but I hate when I do that, so I left it after being reminded of you. You reminded me on House of Horns that the tackles for the Cardinals won't play. No Jonah Williams, no Paris Johnson Jr., maybe no James Conner either. So
No Trey
uh,
Benson,
yeah,
perhaps the other
yeah. So no running
running
back.
back.
So what the hell am I doing? But I don't care. I think the Cardinals are gonna play with pride, and I've been hyping them up all year until they let me down. So why not go down with the boat here? And they'll cover the 6.5. I think the Rams are gonna win, but I think 6.5. You're in that territory. You could maybe get a backdoor cover where it's maybe like hanging around. 14 points for most of the game, and then at the end you get a garbage time touchdown. That's the only way I see this happening for me, but I'll take it.
And it's a divisional game. You just never know, especially with all the injuries. It doesn't really matter sometimes because whenever it's a divisional game, it can go either way, where it could be a blowout or it can be a tight game. So, yeah, that's not a bad one. All right, your number 2.
Yeah, last week I gave them a lot of crap, and they proved me wrong with playing, hard nosed football for Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys beat up on the Buccaneers. I was so wrong about that. But I'll give them some pride here, or I guess I'll give them some points for them because they're going to show up with pride. I don't like also CeeDee Lamb being hurt. I also made this bet before and I saw the announcement of CeeDee Lamb being out. But again, I hate to kind of waver at last minute and change my bet. So hey, Michael Parsons has been doing well. Mike McCarthy's getting his players to do well, and maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't play for the Eagles. So I said, what the heck, keep it going. Cowboys +7. It might be +8 now, but I don't know. But I'll take a +7 here.
Yeah, I the way they've been playing, and then we don't know if what's going to happen with Jalen Hurts. It doesn't look good. I like this one. The only thing is, like you said earlier too, no CD Lamb in this game, so we'll see. I mean, they're going to continue to play hard. That's one of the things. Since they got healthy, they've been playing a lot harder for Mike McCarthy, and it looks like he might be keeping his job, which is,
Yeah,
you
I don't
know,
know about that. I think that'll be a mistake, but
but
yeah,
we'll
he's
see
up.
what happens in the offseason.
Yeah.
All right, you're number 1 here. I honestly thought you would have this one higher just because I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, I think it's more about giving the Packers respect, and I also don't want to go off of the whole they haven't beaten anybody, being 0-4. They beat the Rams and they've been beating up on people too. So, I'm a little worried. I'm not gonna lie. And I also I tend to go away from 50-50 games. Either you're a dog that I really believe in, or a favorite team that I see like, okay, you're gonna easily beat that 3 or 4 points. You're too good against that bad team. That's usually the way I go. I just hate 50-50 games, so because they just scare me. I don't know where they're gonna go. And I feel
Yeah.
that for this team, but I feel like the Vikings are being overlooked a little too much, and they're a home team with 13 wins, and they're getting spotted at 1 point. Yeah, I'll sign up for that.
Yeah, and it's not like when this is the other thing. I know we talked about Sam Darnold earlier, but this is also where remember that Vikings team from a couple years ago where Kevin O'Connell won over 13 games as well, and that was that team that won for one possession games. They were like
Yeah.
11-0 at one point, and this is not the case with this team. Like I just don't understand why they're not getting the respect that they deserve here, and I get the why the Packers are getting all the love here. I just don't understand it. I just and it goes to mine now, Gilbert. My top. I start off with my number 5 here, and it's Vikings versus Packers over 48.5. Both of these teams score points. They're going to score over 30 points. I feel like last time, we saw the Packers. I mean, we saw the Vikings get out to a big lead in the first matchup, and then the Packers came right back and scored over 30 points. This was what almost in the 40s. Yeah, give me the over on this one. And it's inside. Remember,
Hmm.
if this game was outside in at Lambeau Field, I would probably have taken the under. But this is going to be inside of Minnesota. Give me the over on in this game. Now on the flip side, this is where my number 4 goes. The Bills versus Jets. I'm going with the under here, 46.5. The Bills offense for some reason doesn't play well in the cold, and I don't understand it. Like we saw them score a bunch of points against the Rams and the Lions in a dome, and then they come back and put up 24 points, or yeah, I think it was 24-21, or was it, yeah, something like that. They hit the under last week, and they just were, and then you have an injury to Josh Allen. We don't know what we're gonna get out of Josh
Yeah, good
Allen.
point.
And then Jets just scored 9 points against the Rams defense, and so I just don't have any confidence in the Jets offense as well. I could see the Bills scoring 30 points in this game, but can I count on the Jets to score over 10 points? I just don't see it. So give me the under in that one. Number three is the Lions versus the 49ers over 50 and a half. I told you the Lions, they play really good teams. They're still gonna score the points. It doesn't matter. It's whether the 49ers can score enough points, and I just think that they will. They're gonna be playing at home. You have a Lions team that I said they're upset. People are doubting them. They're not making excuses for their injuries. That offense is still clicking. I really like the over in this game. They've been able to score points. It's just whether or not the 49ers can score enough points to hit this over, and I feel confident in the Lions will do, and so will the 49ers score enough points, especially with that Shanahan offense. My number two is the Chargers. Going back to the well here, I went away from them last week, and I had a bad week, so going back to it, Chargers minus of course versus the Patriots. They're going on the road. This is a good test for them. I really like the fact that they're going to be playing in the cold on the East Coast, which is pretty much what they're going to have to do when they go when they play in the first round. Whether it's going to Pittsburgh or Baltimore, any of those cities, they're going to have to get used to the cold. And what a way to do it against the Patriots. They need to take care of business. I think they will. And then we saw what they did against the Broncos. I felt like that free kick really ignited this team, and they'll go on a good charge here. And then my number one, what I've been doing the last couple of weeks now is I take a big number here. I really like what the Panthers, when they're the favorite, they don't do so well. But when there's not much expectation from the Panthers, you're telling me they can cover. We saw what they did against the Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago. They covered. They barely lost in overtime to this Buccaneers team. So, and the Buccaneers just laid an egg against the Cowboys on a short week. Give me the Panthers +8 here.
Yeah, I really thought about that Panthers game there, and I even was going to put it pretty high, but I'm like, I don't want to go off with too much of last week. I think the Buccaneers are still a good team, and then also I feel like the Buccaneers might respond after the whooping they got. But 8 points is a lot. I was looking at when they got to 7, and then when I saw 8, I was like, oh, actually, I probably would have done it if I had that
Yeah.
when I put in my picks here. So I like it here for the 8, and I think uh, that probably tells you that maybe people were taking the Buccaneers a lot for the 7, and then now the line shifted to the 8, but. Which I'm a little surprised. I thought more people would take money on the Panthers because they have a good offensive line, good running game, and they played the Buccaneers tough last time. But I'm guessing this game's in Tampa Bay. Is that
Yeah, it
why?
is in Tampa because the other
Yeah,
one was in
yeah.
Carolina.
So they play pretty well at home there. But yeah, we'll see. It's a good risky one there to take. But yeah, let's end this night with some dump offs here because uh, yeah, some of these lines were a little interesting. It was difficult for me to kind of make my top 5, and I'm guessing for you too because you got 3 over under there. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll discuss the rest here right now.
Yeah. So our first game here, we have the Colts at the New York Giants. The Colts are 7.5 point favorites. The over under is 40.
Yeah, I know I was saying the Colts are probably going to beat the Giants and the Jaguars, but like they're kind of like a team you can't trust, and I don't think I want to trust them for 7.5. But also the Giants are terrible, man. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Colts here minus 7.5. But like, man, I don't know what to expect with the Colts. The Colts but they're gonna beat down the Titans last week, and then the Titans came back out of nowhere. I'm like, you guys are just you can't figure it out, and I expected so much better from Indy, but I think they'll cover here because the Giants are just that bad. But that's a high point for them.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought about this one, putting this one in, but you're right. I just don't understand. This has been I saw something or somebody was talking about the Giants and what's happened. And I always go back to that instant success that you get in that first season with the coach. And you saw Brian Dable win the coach of the year. And since then he's had one of the worst records in the league. The Giants have just been terrible since that season, and you just think about what happened. Like this was one of the one of the best coaching guys out there, that commodities that everybody wanted. And now look, like nobody even wants to play for this team, it seems like. And I get it. Like when you don't have the quarterback, it's hard to win in this league. But at the same time, you at least want to see your players at least play for you. And it feels like he's lost that locker room. And I just even though I don't trust the Colts here, I it's too big of a line. And last week just told me that everybody's kind of just they're trying to get the number one pick, and
Yeah.
Brian Dable has lost that locker room.
Yeah, just because what you said right there, because he lost the locker room, they gotta fire him. They gotta fire
Yeah,
Joe Shane to the GM, and I think Brian Dable had a good reputation before the season. But when you can't keep your players motivated and you lose a franchise record 10 games in a row, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and then the GM can't get over the whole Saquon Barkley disasters, letting him walk. I think that John Mara is gonna say enough is enough. You guys are both fired.
yeah, and I think it's also going to keep teams from going on Hard Knocks like the offseason one after what we just saw. I mean, people are not going to want to
Yeah,
share. I thought it was one of the most compelling ones, and honestly, it might end up costing them their job, which is kind of sad, but that's just the reality of it. All right,
yeah.
Gilbert. Las Vegas Raiders are 1 point favorites, which I was shocked to when I was putting this in. The over under is 38 at the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed because I usually get 3 underdogs on my SI pick'em, and the Raiders were supposed to be one of my dogs, and then the line shifted. I was like, "What the hell? The Saints are at home. How am I?" And so I only got two dogs winning this week, and one of them I forced. That was the Cowboys over the Eagles.
Yeah,
We'll see how that kind of plays out. But it was hard for me to pick underdog. There's a lot of heavy favorites. I'm like, I
yeah,
can't see this team, but you never know. But yeah, the Raiders are supposed to be one. They're the favorites now. I think there's something there to Aiden O'Connell, at least keeping them competitive and using Brock Bowers. So I could see that, but I get it. The Saints also have, is it Spencer Rattler going to be this week? I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Uh,
I would assume so.
and then they got their asses whooped in prime time. And usually bettors go off of what they see recently. So that could be part of it too. So, hey, the Raiders came through for me against the terrible Jaguars. So I'll pick them here. And obviously it's a pick them. So I'll take them. I'll take the -1.
I was hoping that Derek Carr would play in this game, just because I wanted to see this. This is why I was kind of nervous about this game being later in the year, because I'm like, Derek Carr might not last the whole season there, and without getting hurt. And sure enough, he got hurt. And I was like, I kind of wanted to see this matchup earlier, just so it have all that buildup and all that crap that they can
Yeah.
talk about
I totally
this
forgot about
matchup.
that.
Now we're not even gonna get it. So yeah, I like the Saints, and it's not because I want the Raiders to tank. I just think that the Saints at home they still have some juice. The Raiders haven't shown me that they can go on the road and win games. That game against the Jaguar was at home, and yes, it's in a dome. Same like it is going to be in this game, but I just don't see it. I don't see the Raiders being able to win, but you never know. They're 1 point favorites. Someone believes in them here, and like you said, Aiden O'Connell does do well. No Max Crosby. Who knows what's gonna happen with him? He's already talking about his future, which doesn't bode well for this Raiders team if your
Oof.
best player is already talking about his future. So
Mm.
there's also something to think about
Hey, I'm
there.
not gonna count out Aiden O'Connell in the meaningless game in December. That guy wins usually in those
Oh,
in
that's
those
true.
moments.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, that he turns into Derek Carr.
Yeah,
That is
there you
true.
go. Yeah, no
Uh,
pressure. Here he comes.
yeah, Jacksonville Jaguars are 1 point favorite. No,
Oh, it's switched.
sorry, this one. Tennessee Titans. Sorry, I forgot that one. Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville. The Jaguars are 1 point favorites, and the over under is 39.5. Sorry about that one.
Yeah, yeah, that was last week's game. Man, I keep picking the freaking Jaguars, and I'm annoyed. I told you guys on Four Compas. So I think the Titans might be, well, maybe second worst team in the NFL. The Giants are definitely the worst team in the NFL, and the Titans are number two. Uh, I'm really surprised Brian Callahan hasn't gotten more from his team, and I'm not saying he's gonna be one and
Yeah.
done, but it's pretty bad. I don't think he'll be one and done, but you might think about it. So. Give me the Jaguars here -1. Doug Peterson's getting his guys to play hard. When you got like a guy like Mac Jones who's trying to fight for a job next year, he does play hard. I don't think he should get one, but you have that. Brian Thomas Jr. is doing well. So and then Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, like no, I don't want any part of that. Give me the Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm with you. This, like I'm over 2 now, Gilbert, in terms of picking a team that can go from last to first. Last year was the Commanders. I like fell miserably. This season it was the Titans. I thought Brian Callahan was gonna bring some of that juice that he had with the Cincinnati Bengals as being the offensive coordinator, and he has not been good at all. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Like, uh, part of they went out and they got some players for him, and they haven't been good at all. And then Jacksonville is doing the same thing. Is you just don't know what they want to do. It sounds like they're gonna fire their head coach as they will with
Yeah,
Doug Peterson.
yeah.
So and then you also look, whoever wins this game is actually going to lose out on a good draft pick because they're going to move down. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on too, Gilbert.
Yeah, those are it's always the interesting time of year where, people talk about tanking and winning or losing, and, the Jaguars could afford to win because they have Trevor Lawrence, and then Tennessee probably needs to pick more because they need a quarterback, so maybe we could go off of that.
Yeah, I give me the Jaguars too. I'm with you. Last one here is the Miami Dolphins at the Cleveland Browns. The Miami Dolphins are 6.5 point favorites. I'll change that right now, and the over under here is 39.5.
I forget, is this one of the games that the Rams need? Is it Cleveland or Miami?
Yeah, they need the Browns to win.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, you know what? If it's not my upset of the week, but give me the Browns to win. And obviously, I'll take the points regardless. But I'm just gonna go off of Miami not being able to win in cold weather and cold city. It's not gonna be like a cold game. It's not gonna be snowing, but there's gonna be some rain. I checked. It's gonna be like 50 degrees. So why not? Maybe I'm not even sure who's a quarterback. Is it still DTO or is it
Yeah,
Jameis?
it's gonna be DTR,
Oh,
although he's dealing with an injury. I don't know why they just don't go back to
yeah,
win.
go back to
I
Jameis.
I think because they don't wanna lose out on they don't wanna they're also trying to get the high draft pick.
Yeah, so maybe I won't get the straight out dog victory, but I'll take the Browns to cover with confidence here. I know the Dolphins are playing a bad team, but like I don't trust this team in December in the cold. Like I think that's a real thing in their head. So until they do something, I'm not gonna get over if they beat the Browns, but I'm gonna definitely play into it because I don't believe in them in cold weather.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just this is one of those games where it's just like these were 2 playoff teams last season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and now they're pretty much, trying to close out their season because they both have had although the Dolphins isn't there still a possibility if they win their last 2 games and the
Yeah.
Broncos lose their last 2 games to get in the playoffs?
Yeah, and I think they need the Colts to lose. Let me double check here who's the higher seed.
Yeah, because when I
Yeah,
saw
the
the
Colts.
Bengals, yeah,
So it'll be the
when I
Colts are number 8, and then the Miami's number 9 right now,
yeah.
and the Bengals are 10, which just sucks for them.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, give me the Dolphins in this game. I'm with you. I think the Browns cover here. The 6.5 is a lot of points. And then I wanted to get to one last comment here. ESG says, I think the Vikings don't get the no respect because they are like the East Coast Chargers. Great season, but in the playoffs they're eventually going to choke.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that Sam Darnold's a starting quarterback, but I'll say this: it feels a little different. And I don't know if they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl, but I think they're gonna win. At least a playoff game, and if they get to the number 1 seed, they'll win 2 for sure. So, or I guess though if they win 1, you'll make it to the NFC title game as that. But I just feel like a divisional round NFC title game, maybe even the Super Bowl. I don't know if I'm ready to go there, but I'll say this and I'll put it out there, Victor. I think that this team really wants to play well for Randy Moss and kind of rally around that, and I
Yeah.
can see it becoming a storyline, and we start winning a bunch of games here. Randy Moss, unfortunately, never got to play a Super Bowl with the Minnesota Vikings. He didn't win. He didn't win a Super Bowl, but he played in one for the Patriots there, maybe a second one with the 49ers. I forget. But I could see that kind of being a rallying cry, and the way they honored him not too long ago was pretty cool to see. So to get it done for Randy, I could definitely see that happening this year.
Yeah, that'll be something cool to kinda watch and see, and yeah, this is a big game against the Packers. I think it'll say a lot. I don't know why they have to keep proving it even though they have a lot of good wins on their ledger. I think the Packers are the team that need, a significant victory because they don't have that one victory that everybody talks about because they've lost twice to the Lions and this Vikings team. So we'll see what happens. But there you go. Week 17 preview is in the books.
Yeah, there we go. We got there with an hour. We didn't lie. It's Gilberto's hour. So,
The
but that's the bad thing is that people didn't give us enough comments. Shout out to
the
ESG for keeping it going. But I get it. The day after Christmas, you're probably traveling, and maybe you don't want to get too much help with your lineup because you're probably thinking, you know what, I've gotten this far. I'm gonna just keep
the
doing what I'm doing. So I understand that standpoint too. But hopefully everybody has a good fantasy football week and. Victor, hopefully you also get yourself a title here.
Yeah, I hope so. I know it's been a couple years of finishing second, so I need to get this one. It's been a couple years since I won my last title in our league, so it's about time.
Yeah, so big time week here, and we're heading down to the final couple weeks for the regular season. We're pretty much, I guess, essentially like a quarter done with week 17. My days are all screwed up with Wednesday football, Saturday football, but yeah, we'll get through it. And then week 18, the final week of the regular season, we'll be back next week, next Thursday. I got to talk about a time with Victor because there's no Thursday night football, but we also got to record House of Horns. But expect the show on Thursday. That'll be our final one of the season here. And it's been a blast doing the show, but we got one more to go, and hopefully we end better than Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football with Bears and Seattle Seahawks next week. But
Yeah.
it's time to get going here. Hopefully everybody's being safe, traveling safe, and enjoying the holidays with loved ones. But on that note, nos vamos, pues, vámonos.